Today, we're excited to welcome the legendary Hot 97 DJ and Apple Music host Ebro Darden to the podcast. We discuss everything Knicks, Apple Music, and brainstorm some ideas on how to reinvigorate NBA All-Star Weekend. Stay tuned.
Point Forward.
Support for Point Forward comes from Nissan. What does adventure mean to you? A far-out trip to somewhere brand new? Or maybe it's as simple as taking a different route home from work. However you define adventure, the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder is ready for it. Pathfinder is designed to conquer every road, every terrain, every adventure, so you can spend less time worrying about your car and more time worrying about where to explore next. Adventure better with the 2024 Nissan Pathfinder. Learn more at nissanusa.com. As we've been exploring the different worlds of the culture of sports, business, music, all other things, we are excited about our guest today as he is the epitome of culture with music, pocket watching, as he likes to say. He's been in the game for quite some time. He's trusted voice in the city of New York, the Big Apple, which is a hard place to be trustworthy in, but his track record speaks for itself. Y'all welcome Ebro Darden to the show from Hot 97 and Apple Music.
Hey, thanks for having me, fellas. It's good to be here, man. I don't really get interviewed a lot. You know, it's crazy. As many interviews as I do, I don't like being asked questions.
Typical.
You want to know who else don't like being asked questions? A lying nigga. No, I'm just joking.
Ebro, we're gonna have some fun today. Yeah. This is him. This is him 24/7.
Nah, but Ebro, been a big fan for a minute. Obviously, you rep New York hard. You checked out the playoffs. You're a big time Knicks fan. What'd you think about this past series and what they've been able to do this past season?
So listen, I've been in New York since I was 28 years old. I'm about to turn 50.
Are we the same age? Oh, no, I'm thinking 40, 50. Tripping. Go ahead.
No, we not, brother. But I'm a bandwagon Knicks fan.
Yeah.
First of all, let's be super clear. Okay? I have, for my time, I grew up a Lakers fan. So my dad I'm originally from the Bay Area. Okay. But my dad is so old school as an Oakland dude that he wouldn't even root for the Golden State Warriors when they moved to Oakland because they was originally the San Francisco Warriors.
Oh, and they were Philly before that.
And they was Philly before that. And then then Lou Alcindor changed his name. My dad is, he's a black nationalist, and Lou Alcindor changed his name. He was like, oh, nah. And then Magic came, and it was, it was Magic versus Bird and all that. We was Lakers. So I was born in 1975. So by 1980, I'm 5 years old. So I grew up with that.
Yeah.
I was given that. More recently, though, living in New York, I'm a fan of Knicks fans. That's how it started.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I'm a fan of how Knicks fans go hard for their team. Sometimes, and not even sometimes, most of the time until recently, delusional, but they going hard, right? My biggest problem was actually the way the team was ran. And I felt like Dolan, the team's owner, was disrespectful to the fan base, because how are you the most lucrative franchise in the NBA and you can't put a playoff team on the floor every year? Like, I didn't understand.
That's real.
And so I would be on the radio here in New York like, yo, y'all being played, bro. Like, how are you being played like this? Like, do not let this Knicks owner, don't be mad at the team. Be mad at the ownership. Be mad at the front office. Be mad at the mismanagement of the money, because y'all are buying tickets. You're watching. You're buying jerseys. Like, you're doing everything you can do as a fan to make sure that they have the resources to go out and put some great shit on the floor. And they wasn't doing it until recently. And shout to World Wide West and Leon Rose. And even I know Steve Stout was involved in kind of the marketing and kind of some of that. So, and I've never met Dolan, and I've always heard from everybody that he's a really nice dude. But I also didn't like how he treated legends.
Charles
Why is Charles Oakley getting arrested for having an opinion? Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
So I had my, and I'm vocal. So y'all ain't gotta fuck with me or not. I don't need to be let in the garden. I'm good. I like watching basketball on TV anyway. But here more recently, I'm a Knicks fan. Let's go. So I think that they did well. I think they did better than expected, and I think they did. If we're grading the Knicks on doing the most, against extreme odds, I think they did the most they could do with what they had stacked against them, as far as injuries and just the way the season went for them. I mean, their second best player, so arguably their first best player, he's out since January.
Yeah.
You made a great move with OG and bringing him in, one of the great defensive players that is currently in the league. There's a lot of talk around the city right now about his history of injury and how that's going to play out moving forward, and if they need to figure out a better rotation at that position to kind of, make sure he's secure there. Getting Mitchell Robinson back and having a good rotation with Mitchell and Hartenstein moving forward.
Hartenstein had a good year.
If Burks can be better off the bench and get in that rotation, there's a lot of discussion around Tibbs having a deeper rotation instead of this 7-man. How can that be an 8 or everybody's pontificating right now.
Yeah.
And what I see is people, when they lose, they want to blame somebody. And when there's no one to blame, people just start saying shit.
Yeah.
Like, people want to blame Tibbs. They want to blame him having a short rotation or running his players into the ground. They want to blame someone. But honestly, if Randall doesn't go down and Hart doesn't get an abdomen and OG's hammy, which could be a soft tissue injuries based on wear and tear, could be. We don't know. If that doesn't happen, I think they win that series.
No, absolutely. I think it would have been great for, the game of basketball as well, because when you're sitting here, you're like, Eastern Conference Finals, Boston Celtics going up against the New York Knicks would have been perfect at the Garden. Especially consider a couple years ago, how wild the streets go when they do win. Remember when they beat Atlanta just in one game? They pretty much.
That's why I'm a fan of Knicks fans.
yeah, for sure.
They win 1-0 game, and it's like, we did it.
So then, how do you feel about your current Lakers situation? Right now,
it's trash.
Trash. What would you love to see from that situation? Do you believe Brian has a couple more years? Do you want to see AD? Do you want to see them maybe draft Bronny? Like, what is it? How do you think they get off the snide in that sense?
I'm not a big fan of I can't say that I'm a big fan. I don't want to call, Bronny and LeBron playing together a gimmick. That's not what I want to say, but I can't find a better word. But it's a warm and fuzzy. It feels awesome. Like, I think it's awesome, and I think it's a great story. But is it going to put your team on the trajectory back to winning being a winning franchise with a winning culture? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Does LeBron James have a couple years in him? Yeah, I mean, you saw what the points the man was putting up, and his body's healthy. So yeah, I mean, in that regard, he has a couple years, but I don't think that he has a couple of years as being the lead ball manager and being the guy that the ball has to go through every possession. I don't see that. You know what I mean? And I don't know how they groom the next when you have, what seems as an outsider, someone like LeBron making having as that much influence on coaching and player personnel decisions.
Yeah.
Like I feel the same way with rappers thinking they should, do their whole album by themselves. Not everybody could do that, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like, sometimes you need a music supervisor and you need an executive producer and you need people to come in and be like, listen, more of this, less of this, from an outside perspective. Not that that takes anything away from the talent of the individual. You know what I'm saying? It just means you may have some blind spots, and those blind spots can be exacerbated by your ego. And I think that's when that's why you have coaches, and that's why you have support systems, so that you can hopefully have people to listen to, you know, when it's time to zig instead of zag.
So, and you say that in that regard, how are you able to remain fresh? You know, you've been part Hot 97 for a while, but most importantly, one of the voices for hip hop and music in general coming out of a city like New York. How have you been able to stay relevant, but also stay consistent and stay on your own platform and continue to, diversify across different networks? Because it is tough. You've been in the game for, 30 decades. Yeah, and you've been the voice of the game and seen so many. So,
I would say the first thing I do is I ain't trying to stay fresh.
Okay.
I'm old. That's first things first. Yeah. I'm old.
Yeah.
And I never had a problem embracing the fact that I've been around for a long time. And I'm not out here trying to chase viral moments. I'm not out here trying to do everything that is new if it doesn't make sense for who I am as a person. I also think on Ebro in the morning, the morning drive show that we do, I do a show that is catered to working parents with kids that are, teachers, doctors and nurses, sanitation workers, construction workers. I'm thinking about regular everyday moms and dads when I put a show together that's on that platform. And so those are the conversations we're having so that the family can gather around the radio for 10 minutes, 15 minutes as they commute from point A to point B. And maybe we laugh, maybe we play a song, we talk about what's real. We try to have real conversations on that show. So I'm not making a show that's intended for YouTube or intended for Instagram, right? I'm making a show that's intended for people who have to go to work in and around the tri-state area every day. So I'm kind of hyper focused on that. And I think that that's working to my advantage now because I'm not everywhere trying to do everything for everybody. And then working at Apple Music, my primary, what started as helping them develop radio for the platform. So we have a free radio station that operates inside Apple Music. And because I programmed radio before and understand how to program content to keep people listening and contextualize music and content, I'm not actively trying to decide every day what is and what ain't, right? What I'm trying to do is aggregate the best of the best, right? Based on what people are talking about, what people are consuming. It's not necessary every day. It ain't necessarily about my opinion on everything. Now, if it is about my opinion, I make no qualms about having an opinion. You know what I'm saying? If there's one to be had. But all in all, I'm really just trying to find music that I think people around the world that tune into Apple Music Radio. And, we have probably I think it's around 6 million people tuning in around the world, to that. And it's free. Like, you don't need to have a subscription. You just open the app, hit radio, and you could just listen. And it's all different shit playing. Like, and we have a country station. We have like what they call a hit station, which is like throwback stuff. And then I'm on Apple Music One every day, 3:00, and I'm just playing the hot rap records. I'm trying to find new artists. I'm trying to play records from all over the globe, from the UK, from Africa, hip hop records that are coming out of Australia, Japan, Latin America, whatever. I'm just trying to find dope music. So I'm approaching each platform specifically to how it's being used and what, what people are interested in.
I wanted to elaborate on, your work with Apple Music and kind of how that started, and being that they're a $2 trillion market cap company. Like, how are you thinking about growing your brand and helping them grow, the value of the culture what it means to them working with a company like that. Are you thinking about the consumer, how the consumer is thinking about taking in a certain type of information? What is the demographic? What's the demographic Apple listener look like? How you can bring that into your realm. And then taking your consumer that you listen to, you said people that go to work, that have kids, and then bringing them onto the Apple platform. How are you thinking about all of those things and maneuvering within all those places?
I think, I think about them as it pertains to, not everything isn't about my show. Everything isn't about my brand. Mm-hmm. So, when I'm doing a show, I'm thinking about that, right? Like when I'm on Apple Music, I'm thinking about anybody with an iPhone that is interested in music. Mm-hmm. And if you're listening to me right now at 3:00, what do you think I'm associated with, and what can I introduce you to based on that brand expectation, which is generally rap music, black music, and anything that is in that universe, right? But I also dovetail into other things just that are just great songs, right? So that's for that Apple radio thing. For what I do, so I'm also the global editorial lead of hip hop and R&B for Apple Music, which works with the team that does all of the playlists that are available inside Apple Music. And so that's, what do we got? Eight or nine people that are actually, previewing music, figuring out which playlists it goes through, when artists are about to drop albums, putting together a plan so that we can feature them in the service. Where should it be featured? What playlist does it fit on? Like that's every day, all day, just trying to figure out how to get as much exposure as we can on behalf of the artists, right? And figuring out what that actually looks like. And then in there is the reality that Apple Music is a service within the whole Apple ecosystem, right? So Apple Music is just a part of a giant ecosystem like the other entities inside Apple. So what we're also trying to do is now align, the technology aspects that are happening around music, like spatial audio, which tie into how the Dolby Atmos and how things hear in headphones, which ties into, our AirPod Maxes or tie into our Beats by Dre family. So how can we work with artists so that they could create the best spatial audio experience that then ties into how the headphones get made, or how the consumer experiences music in those headphones, and can we make that connection for the consumer, right? So that's the other kind of end of some of the work that I'm doing. And then, also in there, I work with our inclusion and diversity team too, which goes across the whole Apple kind of corporate structure around the globe, where a woman by the name of Lisa Jackson, who heads up a program we have called Reggie, which is Racial Equity and Justice Initiative. And, a few years ago, the whole company put aside $300 million for us to go out and actually create sustainable, opportunities for underserved communities all over the globe. And, like we have the Propel Center at Clark Atlanta University. We have another incubator program in Detroit that people could go look up and just kind of learn about some of the other things that Apple and our, inclusion and diversity, racial equity and justice team is doing externally, but also internally. You got, people from all walks of life that are looking to connect and learn how to coexist with one another, and putting together programming so that we can have those conversations as things take place in society that affect people who work in our retail stores. Things take place in society that affect people who are working in engineering and all ends of the business, creating space for us to have conversations. So hopefully that's answering your question a little bit, Iggy, like about how
sure.
I'm kind of in my brain. I'm not trying to put it all together as much as I'm trying to be present in the individual disciplines that it takes to address whatever's in front of me in the moment, if that makes sense.
I was wondering too, as well. You see the narrative sometimes right now of hip hop apparently not being as popular. You look at the streams, it quote unquote needing to be revamped or is dead. Do you ever feel any type of pressure or trying to continue to change that narrative and continue to try to push the culture of hip hop forward and continue its dominance in the musical atmosphere?
I feel an obligation to try to make sure that we're pushing forward as hip hop artists that are, that have the superstar qualities and songs and things like that have potential to go far reaching beyond hip hop. But I would ask anybody that says hip hop streams are down, what genre streams are up? Like, who's up? Because I don't know if anybody's up. I think everybody's down, and everybody's down mostly because I think TikTok has taken away, there's only 24 hours in a day, y'all. You know what I'm saying? There's only so much time people could do.
Right.
So if there's a new thing that people are using a lot and highly engaged with, like TikTok is, especially for the young, active consumer, you know what I'm saying? Them 15 to 24-year-olds, I bet you there's a graph showing if streams are kind of waning, where are people going? Now, I'm sure it's out there. What are they spending more time with?
No, they always say that. I've read a few articles in terms of, I'm the head of the players union now, and where should my energy be towards? Thank you. Thank you. That's another topic of discussion offline. But no, it's good work, and the players, and you'll see this TV deal. It's going to be insane. Like, I don't have any insights on it the way that we probably should. But
that's the TV deal where the NBA was asking for $4 billion for the new rights or whatever, and then they're gonna
one of the many rights, right?
One of the many rights, got it.
Right, and they're saying it's projected to triple, and you don't want to set expectations too crazy. The last deal was $25 billion, so if it triples to 75, right? And so I think that just speaks volumes to the influence of our culture, of our athletes. Like, that's all us, right?
Yep.
And we're starting to get to a point where the TV bundle's getting all, split up. They're going streaming, where our intention is going. And you're starting to hear like NFL and NBA are competing for Christmas Day. Now the NFL is going to have a Christmas Day game on Netflix. The game is live on Netflix. Wow. That news just dropped, right? And so, and then you hear who will play, what guys can play in the other league more. Basketball to football, or football to basketball.
And that was like Doc Rivers' son talking that.
Right. And we got to get away from that narrative, I'm saying, because we shouldn't be competing against each other. We're competing against TikTok. We're competing against the attention, because if everybody's on that little screen for, 1 minute, 30 seconds at a time, that's less eyeballs on our game. And so we got to figure out how to continue to not just market ourselves, but do you change the game to fit that demographic, or do you grow the game? You help grow the game as they're coming up. So you should never change the game, in my opinion. But at the same time, it's like you got to introduce them to the game in a manner that may be different in the way you introduce the game to your generation, or to my generation, or to ET's generation. And so you're speaking volumes in terms of like what we're competing against and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Well, I was privy to a research study many years ago when streaming first started. Really, no, it was really iTunes, when iTunes first started. Mm-hmm. And the iPod got really popular. Maybe not iTunes first started, but the iPod got really popular. This is before my time at Apple. I was just working in radio. And we were trying to understand, like, okay, out of all the songs that people have, how many of them do they actually listen to? Like, everybody want to brag about how many songs they got, but how many are you actually listening to?
You can't say that, because now you're picking a side, because that's where I'm coming from. Like, listen, you can have 800 songs, because people are saying, I got friends that tell me, why you don't listen to this guy? I'm like, no, I used to be his biggest fan. But now that I've been more familiar with his content and like the substance behind it, or like the foundation of his music, he's really not saying much. And then I gravitate to this other person. It's like, I can go back in 10 years and I'm like, oh, this still holds the same weight. And now you're speaking to this battle.
but my point with the TikTok thing is this research study discovered was there's a certain segment of the population that has time, right, to look and spend on how they want to design their consumption.
Mm-hmm.
At a certain age, that free time that they have to search for and then customize their viewing experience gets shorter because they have a job, because they have a commute, because they have kids. You know, pick another thing. You know, now they taking care of mom and dad instead of mom and dad taking care of them. So now they moving around, and so they need a trusted content filter to design a consumption experience on their behalf. And so the study was basically saying at around 26, 27, 28, and this is, by the way, this is 10 years ago, maybe more, that individuals start to come back to radio because they just don't have time to go search for shit. They need someone to find it for them and present it to them. But when you focus on the TikTok audience, the biggest consumers in that audience have time to customize because all they doing all day is they on their phone, they playing their video games, they doing whatever. As they get older though, right? And they have, you know, which is most sought by companies, they have actual income.
Right.
Right? Because advertisers ain't talking to people who don't have income.
Facts.
And they're doing research on who has income and who don't. Mm-hmm. And they're doing research on where you live with your income and what roads you travel and what gas stations you stop at and what billboards you're going to see and what grocery stores you walk into and what websites. Like all this shit is the advertising world is in on all this shit. People think, oh, my phone's listening to me. Bruh, the advertising community been watching your every move since the 1950s, bro.
Right. Mad Men.
Exactly. And so anyway, back to the research study. So to what you were saying about the fragmentation of consumption and the real gamesmanship is how do we not compete against each other, but how do we keep people, instead of them wanting a 60-second experience, how do we keep them wanting a 60-minute experience? Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think the real question is, who are the people who want a 60-minute experience? And who are the people who want a 60-minute experience? And how do we go focus on those 60-minute people and not focus on the 60-second people? Because the people who want a 60-second experience, they want control. They have time. They want control. They want to say when they get in, when they get out. They want absolute control. The people who want the 60-minute experience want to sit down, relax. They're tired of driving. They're tired of being in control. They're tired. They just want to sit down and give me who's got the best experience for me to tune into. And the other thing to think about is there's more people older, just sheer mass numbers, population. There's more people older than 28 than there are people younger than 28, just on sheer mass. Now, a lot of times people want to focus on the under 28-year-old or the under 25-year-old because they will become the 28-year-old and they want to create that relationship earlier. But that's why maybe you make a 60-minute or a 60-second experience. So you hook them early. And then as they have less time later on, there's already an affinity there that they want to lock into.
For sure. So I know ET wanted me to, we were having a discussion about this too. I was at All-Star break this last year and we're trying to figure out some things with the All-Star game. And so with Apple being a presenting partner of the Super Bowl, and we've seen what the Super Bowl has been able to do from a halftime experience over the last few years and what it's done for the artists. It's been incredible. We saw what the West Coast, Dr. Dre, Snoop, Kendrick, we saw Rihanna. That was an incredible moment. Like each year we've had these Usher had an incredible moment this year.
And Alicia had her moment too.
So You know, sports play a dominant role in music as well. We always go back to, you know, athletes want to be artists want to be athletes. And that's because we have, you know, we come from the same experiences and background. And in saying all that, you know, if I was to ask you what type of experience should the NBA come up with that's similar to that musically or culturally, or that artist experience, what are some things you think we could do to kind of have that same flair, whether it's at the All-Star game, whether it's at the finals? Like, how do we marry those two?
Well, first, you know, as much as Apple's involved in the halftime, I got to make sure that we acknowledge Jay-Z.
100%. Yes, sir.
Right? Because he's the one that is deciding who goes out there. That's a Jay-Z thing. And so that, and Rock Nation. And they're working with the NFL, and we happen to, you know, because it was available, we happen to go in and take the title sponsorship. So I don't want to misconstrue, like, you know, where, you know, Apple could like swoop down and fix entertainment for, you know, the NBA halftime. I don't want to come off like that. So I got to make sure I kind of preface it with that.
I mean, I got the answer. We got to call Jay.
Boom. Call Hov. Hov will fix it up. But I would say that I think the NBA All-Star has something that the NFL doesn't. They just got to fix it, which is the skills competition and the desire to still want to watch the All-Star game. The NFL don't have that. Nobody's watching the Pro Bowl. It's basically touch football now. Nobody's watching that. Nobody, you know, and by nobody, I mean very few. People actually still tune in to the All-Star game. What needs to be figured out is, I just happened to see this a few years ago on the NBA TV. They was running the 1985 All-Star game. And it was like Magic, Bird, Jordan, and they was playing. They was playing. Defense was being played. Now, they wasn't trying to hurt one another, but they was definitely D'ing up and trying to block some shots and stop some things. And it was competitive. I think if you could fix the competitive nature of the things that the NBA actually owns, the dunk contest has to be fixed.
You got to get our superstars to back doing it.
You got to get superstars back doing it, and or create another story.
Yeah.
What's the G League cat that's out here dunking crazy? Mac
McClung.
Get that boy his props. He keeping that shit interesting.
He is doing his thing, G. He did it twice, 2 years in a row, too.
The story is he doesn't look like your prototype basketball player, and he has athletic ability that's unexpected. He is not currently out of the G League, and he's blowing the frame off in the dunk contest. That's an interesting story, though.
Yeah, but he wasn't the first one to do it, though. You got James White that could have did it. You got DJ.
You
know what I mean? But no, I'm saying that's why Dre gets frustrated with it, because it's like he wasn't the first high jumping person that anybody wanted to see ever. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh.
We literally just move these rules. I think people forget like the emphasis on NBA dunk contests. It's like me showing up and being like, "Hey, bro, Ebro, let me pull up and freestyle for you, G." You like, "Nah, we don't do that on this."
Right.
It's different. Nah, champ, like the same way you went off on you had to talk to Uzi Vert, you know what I mean, back in the day about how to spit on the mic, or even Biggie Small's son. You like, "Bro, we don't fuck around up here, dog." And that's how we feel about the NBA. It's like, no, I'm sure you can dunk, but can you hoop with us, motherfucker? Right. No, take that shit up the street.
Right.
And that's how Dre can't really say that, but that's how.
But I think Ebro is on to something in terms of it's changing the story behind it, because I think the mystique of the dunk contest at one point was NBA players were the only ones that can move and dunk like this. Now you just got regular cats that maybe they can't hoop, but they can do these crazy dunks. The NBA players once were the only ones that can do it. And that's the global appeal to our game. You got people who could dribble. Like And1 made a movement they couldn't hoop, but they can just dribble the hell out the ball.
Or how about this? How about this? We've watched our bro, and we love him, Steph Curry, change the way undersized people feel that they could be in the NBA. Okay? Now, I use the word undersized, but Steph is off the charts as far as knowledge of the game, ball movement, creating space, like things that a regular person wouldn't be able to do.
And he's still 6'3" at that.
Right. But because he's small, you have kids and people who play at the LA Fitness feeling like I could do what he's doing, even though we know they can't.
Right.
So there's a relatability factor there. Maybe the answer is, follow me here. I just came up with this, and take it and run with it. Maybe the answer is actual NBA players got to go find somebody with an awesome story and bring them, be their like host in the dunk contest, sponsor them in the dunk contest. So then they got to train for the dunk contest. That's content. Right? Then they got to travel. They might get a bag that could change their life. They might get a bag that'll help them pay the mortgage. You know, they probably at the crib, wife mad because they still got basketball aspirations. She like, yo, my nigga, you need to
It's
get
a lot of them.
cracking. It's a lot of them.
It's a lot of them.
A lot of them.
Handle the bills till the mixtape is done type shit. Right.
It'll you know, and I get my moment in the sun. I might get a bag, and my story might warm some hearts somewhere that creates another opportunity. So you get to create a larger story. Speaking of stories, on that note, which I think people gloss over, and I love what's happening with the WNBA, right? The WNBA has been putting great product on the floor for many years.
Yes, sir.
Right? And periodically there's been a story, right? Like there's been a, you know, this story or this competitive dynamic, whatever. More recently, though, you have a phenomenal collegiate story that played out over 2 seasons with LSU and Iowa, right? Played out over 2 full college seasons that now fell into the WNBA. And there's a story arc. Now people are following what Angel's doing. They're following what Caitlin Clark is doing. These are household names. Yes, they play great basketball, but there's a story. It's the story part that people are locked into, right? Because they went at it. There's a racial component, the white girl and the black girl, and the, you know, America's so racialized, people picking sides and all this type of shit. Listen, that's who we are, man. We're a racialized society, whether you like it or not. And so here you had a white girl and a black girl going at it.
That's real. I didn't like Mayweather till he fought McGregor for real, and I was a McGregor fan. I'm like, damn, I don't know what got into me. Like you know,
but he started talking that monkey shit.
Yeah, you're like, oh no, you start.
Nah, bro, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I'm voting Democrat. Like, and then you like, I don't know, vote Democrat. Fuck it.
Yeah,
like,
fuck you. I can't fuck with y'all.
But when you talk about relatability and you see a lot of over time, you've seen a lot of athletes and, you know, rappers kind of cross over. It's kind of synonymous. What athletes have you seen really be so relatable, both in a sports crowd and in a music industry, where you like, God damn, this could have been a star, like an Iverson type vibe.
Shaq is the epitome of personality, music success, and basketball success. You know, I think after Shaq, you'd have to say AI, right? Because AI, the record with Jadakiss, and you know what I mean? Like he had some shit, and the record was fire. Plus, he had love in the streets, and he had love in the hood. He was relatable. You know, he's not a person who wants to talk on a microphone all the time. It's not who he is, and have to. You know, he ain't no comedian. He ain't out here for the jokes, but he's loved. You know what I'm saying? And he got off some rhymes. And then Dame Lillard out here putting out great music, man.
Dame. Dame is cold.
Dame putting out great music, man. And
But what about on the other side? On the other side, like musicians, who are really good athletes, or like J. Cole. He played in the Basketball Africa League.
Cole definitely was interesting. I love what he did. He lived out his dreams the way he wanted to. You know what I'm saying? Master P.
Master P. One of the realest ever do it, G.
Master P got his. Well, it wasn't the G League at the time. What was
he got a preseason. He got a preseason look.
Preseason look.
The D League.
The training camp.
He got a preseason look.
Training camp. ETSG. What's his name? His name ETSG. ESTG.
Oh, ESTG. He played football though.
Yeah,
he played football. He played football though.
Yeah, he played football first.
He was nice.
Yeah. Oh, but Toby Nwigwe from Houston.
Yeah, he played football. Yo,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he played football. I think he played college ball. And then straight after college ball, he went and started figuring out his whole rap shit. Yeah, man.
And Kurt Cobain's low key. Kurt Cobain's is
word?
Yeah, Kurt Cobain's to shoot you out the gym too, G.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But how about this? Your man Quavo can actually hoop.
Quavo can hoop. He's an athlete. He's an athlete. He's a real athlete.
Quavo can hoop. Offset used to play football.
Damn, I didn't know that.
I knew that.
Quarterback, he told me. He told me he played corner.
Al Farouk Aminu told me that. They went to Norcross.
Oh, okay.
They went to athletic school Norcross. So they went, their program was pretty prestigious, yeah.
Dave East used to hoop.
Dave East could hoop. I knew that.
Yeah, he played
I just saw an interview. He said he'd probably be the best hooper. If he got in shape, he'll be the best musician hooper.
Yeah, I think I talked to him once about it. I was like, yo, so he was like, nah, but I really got to train. Like, I can't go out there and be halfway. Like, I would really have to.
Yeah, because how Dave East used to hoop, he was already a project. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, imagine a project taking 10 years off after, like, working out every day at it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
true stuff.
He's a workhorse. Like, you know what I'm saying? But I'm sure he could have put some work in there.
Yeah, his style, that's what he said. He said his style, the way he plays is like, I got to be conditioned for it. Like,
yeah, he played like PJ Tuck. He like an undersized four-man type shit.
Got it.
Yeah, but he thorough.
I'm trying to think who else, man. I'm sure there's people out here, man, that we leaving out. Listen, Kobe had a record, man. Rest in peace.
You talking about Thug Poet?
Yo, Kobe had a little moment, man.
Did he? Did you like it?
No.
Kobe was getting jiggy, man. Don't do that.
I'm the biggest Kobe fan on earth.
Snoop Dogg said it was bullshit at its finest.
I got some questions for y'all. Talk to me about the interest in wanting to have a platform like this. You guys that were athletes or even the athletes that are current athletes. What is the interest in having and doing this work?
Let me answer first because ET got the real answer. He can. I think more than anything, we both played in Philadelphia, and we understand that market. Like, it's a really interesting market, fan base. Blue collar town, work hard, and for some reason they just mad a majority of the time. And so, as an athlete, it's a very interesting place to play in. Everything's scrutinized under the microscope. You always feel like you got to defend yourself, and then you feel like your words are always going to get taken out of context for the sake of, providing to, the consumer. And obviously, negativity breeds conversation. You want as much conversation as possible. That's just how tabloids and how papers got started in general. Like, if you go back to the history of it all, like you've been giving history lessons today, Ebro, and I appreciate that. But people don't understand the context of why things are the way that they are. And so we came up in Philly and we was like, why is it every time I do an interview, it just turns out negative? I did an interview on my teammate and I made a joke in it. And I was like, listen, man, this dude's incredible. I gave a whole, my PR guy was next to me. He was like, great interview. And you showed Lou Will so much love. And the interview came out and it said that and it came out as if I was dogging my teammate. I said he couldn't play defense. And I said all this bad stuff about him. And then I'm walking down the street, somebody rolled up and says, fuck you, Andre. Like, I used to get it all the time. And so when athletes go through this over and over, especially in the current times of social media where they're going to take your words out of context, it's like, why don't we just do it ourselves? Why don't we just have these conversations ourselves? And then we act as gatekeepers too. Like we decide who gets in. We decide who gets to speak on what we do. We decide like who gets a pass on speaking on the game of basketball, like who's full of shit. And like, ET always says it's the Jimmys and Joes and this, what's it go? How's it go, ET?
It's now about the X's and O's, it's about the Jimmys and Joes.
And so we got all these analysts analyzing the game, saying you should do this, you should do that. They never played basketball in their lives. Or ET says, the great Bobby Knight used to say, journalism is the step above prostitution of how it's pimped out. And so all of those things tell you, like when you can own it yourself and you can go straight to the consumer, it's all about direct to consumer. It ends up going back into the package, but you go directly to the source and then you can grow your brand that way too. You see all these brands being built, you see influencers. What are they influencing? What? Like, what expertise do you have to influence me to do something other than you saw something and you said, hey, this is cool, try this out?
It's like the Kanye thing. It's like, well, shit, I like Gaga, but what the fuck did she know about cameras? Like, you know what I mean? What the fuck did she know about cameras? Like, what?
Yeah.
What? And when you add that up, it's like you're not doing anything wrong. I always joke and say, I'm not as big as Pause, as Dre or anybody else. And it's like, yo, I got a cult like following, but they want to hear it, And I think at the same time, there's a message to really be put out into the world. And I think the conversation that Dre and I really have is a different, unique conversation that is really going to fit a pocket and start off hitting a niche. And then once the gospel starts getting spread, I think you'll, start becoming, natural conversation. Our voice will continue to be heard. But I don't think, I just thought we were definitely something authentic for the lane, for the space to be able to continue to cross over. And we're on, we just finished our 100th episode. And we're doing decent. So not too shabby, but I just think that's just been a fun part about it. And, just shit, signing up and talking shit like Skip Bayless, it's been the best part.
Do you, I guess look, when you're listening to what you guys just said is often how, if you could talk to like a product on a shelf, would feel about being critiqued, right? Like, because that's what we are, right? As content creators, whether you're playing basketball or doing what you're doing right now, you're creating a product with your person or your friends or your collective or whatever. You're presenting it to the public for their consumption. And because product has a shelf life, or if the packaging ain't right, or if the execution on the packaging ain't right, people are going to have a fucking opinion on it. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you've asked me to take time out of my day to give it to you. But that goes for all of us. So I only say that to say that whether the feedback is good or bad, the fact that there is feedback means that there is love. And oftentimes as human beings, when the feedback is negative, obviously, you don't interpret that as love. Who would? But trust me, as someone who gets a lot of negative feedback, you have to know if someone took time out to do so with all the shit that they could be doing with their time in a day. But you took time out to engage with me about something I did, whether that be on the basketball court, the football field, on the radio, on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you engaged with me at, that means it's love. So a lot of times, people come up to me all the time, be like, yo, I don't like all that, you know what I'm saying? That shit's some bullshit. And I'll be like, yo, thanks for listening though, bro.
I like it.
That energy keeps me employed.
Yeah.
The fact that you have energy for me keeps me with a job.
That's the message. That's the message. I mean, we all could use that. I mean, we got, 6 people on this call, and we constantly reiterate, try to figure out what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, what we're hearing from here, what we're hearing from there. And then ET will say sometimes like, yo, man, sometimes the wrong person's talking. But sometimes when we get negative feedback from somebody, and that's not somebody in our room, but somebody from the outside, appreciate you talking.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we're not wired to think like that because everything's instant gratification.
Well, the other thing is too, it's a muscle. It's just it's a part of the discipline, because the other part you have to go is, A, thank you for listening. Then you have to privately go, I'm not even sure I was even talking to you, bro.
True story. I wasn't even talking to you.
Like, it wasn't even, like, you have feelings about shit I wasn't even talking. I didn't give a fuck what you thought in the first place.
And it's like, how hard is it to mind your business? Now just show. Like, just mind your motherfucking business. Now just show.
But I want you to mind my business, because once again, I was on your radar.
Yeah.
And I'm appreciative for that. That I occupy space in your world.
That's real.
That's deep. Pause.
Point forward.
Well, we appreciate you pulling up, fam.
Thanks for the request, man.
Yeah, we love these type of conversation. We learned something today. I'm gonna put this in action right away. Yeah, and if we get that, if we do that All-Star game thing with dunk contest, rest assured you will get credit. I don't move like that.
When they say credit, he want a check sent. Fuck credit, right?
Hey,
that's what I mean. Executive producer.
I feel it, bro. You don't know how many times people have sent me credit in no bag. So I'm just speaking. I'm putting it into existence. You know.
Yo, what's homie from Queens? That's the vice president from under Adam Silver. Mark
Tatum. Mark Tatum.
Yo, man, let's corner him and tell him about the dunk contest. Because I already cornered him. I saw him at a thing. I was like, yo, my man, y'all got to fix the dunk contest, bro.
I got a meeting with him next week.
Shit's out of hand, bro.
I got a meeting with him next week.
That might be a really good idea that you came out with, though. That
True story.
It is thorough. So, shit.
Yeah.
But there's just multiple content things there. But I'm just saying that as a fan. Like, I ain't got the time to be doing all the work. Y'all do. Yo, I'm gonna holler at y'all, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
you. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, my guy.
Point forward.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Point Forward. Don't forget to follow Point Forward on social media and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcast. We appreciate you listening. See you next week.